I wanted to share a little bit of information about this whole mask discussion that's going on right now. To mask or not to mask, that's the question, right? You got the Democrats and people on one side of the so-called aisle talking about, the ICE agents wearing the masks, and that's wrong. ICE agents routinely mask up when seizing people, and that's wrong. And now you have Trump coming out stating that protesters will not be allowed to wear masks. So there's this mask discussion going on again, and I think that it's going to end up getting tied into some other future events and things that are going to be happening. And I think myself personally, everybody's been paying attention to the wrong Epstein. You have this Gerald Epstein here, a distinguished fellow and contributing scholar to several different publications. He's a contributing scholar at the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security. He joined the center after retiring from his position as distinguished fellow at the National Defense University Center for the Study of Weapons of Mass Destruction, where he addressed nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, okay, particularly the security implications of advanced life sciences, biotechnologies, and other emerging technologies, okay. He's one of the advocates for dual-use research. And if you're not sure what dual use research is defined as a life science research that, based on current understanding, can be reasonably anticipated to provide knowledge, information, products, or technologies that could be misapplied to pose a significant threat with broad potential consequences to public health and safety, agricultural crops, and other plants, animals, the environment, material, or national security. So they have it justified, when they're developing these things in their laboratories for gain of function research and everything. They have it justified because, unfortunately, our adversaries could get a hold of the same technology and use it on us. So we have to try to mitigate it, mitigating biorisks and governing dual use research. And there were several different publications that were put up even just a few years ago that were talking about upping the security labs that we have for biological research and stuff. So, because there were so many different labs that were developed and brought up just specifically to handle the whole C thing. But in this publication, even here from 2009, Beyond Fortress America, National Security Controls on Science and Technology in a Globalized World, they're talking about the regulation and the access to an export of science and technology and how it's broken. Fixing these controls does not mean putting an end to them, but implementing reforms based on the realities of the risks and opportunities of today's threats to the nation. So every threat poses an opportunity for them to, try to justify doing things that they normally wouldn't have any justification for, because they're doing it for our own good, right? Right? Smart bioweapons are now possible, and this was, from 2003. Okay, we're talking 22 years ago now. So, I just think that they're setting things up for another situation where they can then go through, like the Patriot Act, and try to gain a little bit more control over certain things. This whole talk about masking and not masking and stuff, to me, just is interesting, especially since they had put out this publication from the National Biodefense Blueprint for Biodefense. And I know there's quite a few people that are covering this publication again. And, just to remind y'all, if you don't know, in their hypothetical scenario, they developed a joint inquiry into the administration and congressional actions before and during the bioterrorist attacks of July 4th of 2025, which is coming up in less than a month. So, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that a lot of people really just do not know. And when it comes to this Gerald Epstein, distinguished fellow, everybody's talking about Jeffrey Epstein this, Jeffrey Epstein that, and Epstein. But how many people, other than myself, because I don't know of anyone else that has covered any information from this Gerald Epstein? And I think that it's really curious because the publication that I had, where he had a very interesting quote from a study group and a committee that he did a speech at, he actually came out and he said that a lot of these people in charge of these public health and public safety concerns and national security wouldn't pay attention to a virus or wouldn't pay attention to a deadly pathogen unless it was real, because all of the scenarios that they've been doing for decades just didn't create the attention and the amount of awareness that they needed in order to justify gain of function research and dual use research. And the words actually came out of his mouth. He was actually quoted, and I really wish I could find that publication, but the links that I had to that publication online are missing. And now I do have a hard copy of it, so I'll try and go through all my papers. I have literally tens of thousands of papers, but I'll try to find that article and share that again. I've already done several different videos on it. They've been removed from YouTube, but because I was talking about the sea and all of that happened back in 2020. And he actually said it. He said that the people will not pay attention to it. Nobody wants to pay attention to the biological threats and the bioterrorism because everybody's just too busy living their own lives and just enjoying life and doing all these fun and happy things. And it's like the only way that they're going to pay attention and get the attention that they need on the topic and the subject of biological terrorism is to actually have a live scenario. So I think everybody's been distracted with the wrong Epstein, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just saying, we've already been subjected to a lot of different things that they claim are out there, right? So they've already developed a justification to expand high containment laboratories, right? Anticipating the biosafety and biosecurity challenges to the global expansion of high containment laboratories was subject of an international workshop held more than a decade ago. But anyway, this is long enough. This is long enough. I'll find that publication in all of my paperwork, but I think this guy here is somebody that has been behind the scenes saying and doing things and influencing things. And do too many people know about this Epstein? I know all y'all know all about Jeffrey Epstein, but do you know Gerald Epstein, or Jerry with a G, as he's known to his fellow distinguished fellows? And this whole thing with Trump not allowing the protesters to wear masks to counter all of them talking about ICE agents not wearing masks. This whole mask talk, I think, is some kind of form of mockery as well. So I'm just saying, stay safe and mindful, folks. Know that I appreciate you, and know that it matters very much to me that you stay safe and mindful. There's more to come if I can help it.